I feel nauseous, believe me. Never had a lot of shit come easy. Had to work hard, struggle just to be me. Had to and what was left over I put towards my dreaming. But the only thing in life that has meaning are the things you gotta work for, believe me. Take into your hands a plan. Your own hands can land your own brand. And damn, I feel like no one takes accountability. They want the credibility, convincingly unwilling to put in the hours it takes to get some power. Don't be f***ing sour. Take a cold shower. Scream until you're louder. Work until you're prouder. And f*** all the doubters, they're just young downers. I swear to God they all let me down. I always fought.
I can tell you that 7 years after Freddie Gray, that was 2015, spring, April, May. This is 2022. Communities like Sandtown, all we saw then and now in terms of investment was a renovated Western District Police Station and a new funeral home. That's what West Baltimore got. A new police station and a new funeral home. What kind of optics are they? Was Freddie Gray any different than 1968 Baltimore riots? Dr. King's passing, killing, murder? This is the same?
No, it wasn't. I mean, I think, well, first of all, people who are being violent and burning, that's, you know, all that's the same. But the point is what was the cause and what were they attempting to register?
I always fought just to wear the crown. I'm off at these fucking clowns.
I love you.
They deserve it now. It's
got next. And I'll be for.
It's only worth it if you work for it. I won't stop till they hear me now. I won't stop till I wear the crown. I swear to God they all let me down. I always fought just to wear the crown. I'm off at these fucking clowns.
Good morning and welcome to the show. First name's Doni, last name's Glover. In it to win it for the long haul. Baby, we want you to check out bemorenews.com. A number of stories went up yesterday, including a report on the 11th annual Synergy out at BWI Airport. Tonight, make sure you check out Tawanda Jones for West Wednesday. The link is right there on bemorenews.com. And also we have a story up from Prince George's County by Richard Deshae Elliott on a Glendale rapper named Lambo the God. So we're going to go to our guest for today, Mr. Akil Parker. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, brother. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm outstanding. What's happening in your world?
It's a lot going on. I just got back from Mississippi.
What are you doing in Mississippi?
So originally I went down there for the Black Liberation Movement. There's an organization based in Coldwater, Mississippi, which is in northwest Mississippi, not too far from Memphis, just south of Memphis across the state line. They had their 6th annual Building Power Summit. So I went down there to do a presentation on, fellowship with the people, but also to do a presentation for the 2nd year in a row on hystematics that we talked about the last time I was on there, where I combined history and mathematics. And then on Sunday, we actually traveled down to Jackson, Mississippi. We drove down there and took some water and some cleaning supplies to the people.
Now, Kill, you talking about Mississippi. I know you from Philadelphia, and I know I'm here in Baltimore, but they don't say Mississippi in Mississippi.
What do they call it?
It's a little shorter.
Mississippi?
There you go.
Yeah.
It don't flow with your Philly flow, right?
Nah, not really.
But that's how they do it down there.
That's cool.
Mississippi.
Yeah, they're good people down there. Matter of fact, last year when I went down there, I got the opportunity. The brother that runs the organization, he kind of took me out on to do some sightseeing on one of the days, and we went to this little town called Tunica, and we pulled over, and I got to stand in an actual cotton field, and that experience was life changing for me, because
How so?
I was able to like really see, where our ancestors was at, and like, that's the type of thing you learn about in school, you hear about, so you understand it theoretically, but being like out there standing there and seeing the expansive nature of the actual field, it helped me to even better understand it, what that experience must have been like.
So do you know about Fannie Lou Hamer?
Oh yeah. I actually talked about Fannie Lou Hamer in my presentation.
Tell them who Fannie Lou Hamer was. A lot of people don't know.
Yeah, that's important. She's a very important figure from a small town called Rouville, Mississippi. She was involved with the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. So a lot of the more well-known people from SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, like Kwame Ture, Bob Moses, Charles Cobb, John Lewis, people like that, they converged all, into Mississippi. But she was one of the local people that worked along with SNCC. Then it was already down there, like putting in work, trying to advance, the humanity of the people that were locally there. And she ended up, she was the representative for the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party, which was a SNCC plan where they were going to create an independent political entity to challenge the Democratic Party. And they went to the Democratic Convention in 1960, I want to say 1964. Wait, when did Kennedy get us? Kennedy got us, 1964, I believe. And it was in Atlantic City, New Jersey. And Lyndon B. Johnson had the major TV networks to silence her, to censor her, and black out her speech while she was there. So, and that's one of the things that I brought up in my presentation about how math is important, because that math is all about recognizing contradictions. Like, how is, like, when things don't add up, how is he going to be your friend, but at the same time he's doing this? Because a lot of people, and Malcolm said the same thing in his Ballad of the Bullet speech about Lyndon B. Johnson. Like, how is he going to be the friend of Black people, but when Black people are trying to get independent political power in a place like Mississippi, he doesn't want that to happen. So he goes to the extent of actually silencing her and not letting the country see that people in Mississippi were trying to, advance in this way. So so that's a little bit about Fannie Lou Hamer.
You remember a famous line?
Well, one of them is definitely nobody's free unless everybody's free.
One line she had transcended a lot of cultures. She said, "I'm sick and tired
Being sick and tired.
Sick and tired."
Yeah.
A lot of people in the 12-step world of recovery from drugs end up saying that, or adhering or embracing that line, and maybe not knowing where it comes from. So Mississippi, let me ask you this. What does it look like? What does Mississippi look like? When you say Mississippi, for somebody who's never been there, I think of a lot of farmland, rural. You mentioned cotton.
Yeah.
The Mississippi Delta. It's got to be one.
The Delta's real flat. It just looks like real. It's kind of like if you ever been in the Midwest, and it's just a whole lot of flat land, just way out, like in the Delta. But it's vegetation. It's rich.
Is
in the Delta.
Is the economy poor?
Well, yeah, in a lot of parts.
My understanding is the Mississippi Delta has some of the poorest Black people in America. It does,
which again exposes another economic contradiction, because the land is beautiful and the land is very rich, but a lot of the people that live there don't own the land. A lot of the people, you got your more urban type areas in Mississippi. Like, we were in Jackson. Jackson is the state capital. But so, area we was at was like, You know, it was the hood where we was at giving out the water and, you know, bleach and cleaning supplies and whatnot. So, you know, it looked like I'm not gonna say any hood, but you know how like down south where you got like the smaller houses, you got you got the projects and whatnot. You know, but you can tell, you can see the poverty, you know.
So Jackson State is in Mississippi too, right?
Right, it is.
And I mentioned Jackson State because we're in the football season,
Mm-hmm.
and an athlete that many of us admire in both football and baseball
Mm-hmm.
decided to invest there. I don't know if this is a part of where you're going in your presentation, but as we get people acclimated to what's happening in Mississippi, we can't leave him out, can we?
Now, I don't think we can. I mean, I have a question about that and about, well, at least I should say some things came to mind when I started to learn about the water situation in Jackson, Mississippi. And I was curious about how that was going to affect the football team, the Jackson State University football team, of which Deion Sanders or Coach Prime is the coach of. And I was concerned and, you know, wondering if, you know, do they have clean water? Do the students on the campus in general, do they have clean water? Do they have clean running water? But I haven't heard anything from him about that. That just means I haven't heard it. You know, I would like to extend the brother the benefit of the doubt, but it is a question that I had that came to mind about, you know, what the situation is like on campus and, you know, if he's involved in any, you know, movement to try to, you know, improve conditions in the, you know, either on campus or in the city as a whole. So I am curious.
Tell me about the water crisis there. I know we have actually one here in Baltimore. I know about the one in Flint. Mm-hmm. I saw Brother Richard Muhammad share something yesterday. He's the editor-in-chief of the Final Call newspaper. He shared a story about America's drinking water. Help me out. Bring me up to speed.
Well, you got people down there, when they turn their faucet on, the water comes out brown. Like brown water. You know, it's not safe to drink. It's not safe.
Is this new?
I mean, this is as of recently, maybe in the last last, you know, 3 or 4 weeks, as far as I know. That's when I became exposed to this information.
But it seems to be a national. I can see what I can count. I can count that much to know that the way we're doing things, water is going to be big money. It's already big money.
Yeah.
I mean, we pay like $100 a month here in Baltimore for water.
And I think, you know, it's definitely a very political issue. And one of the things that the mainstream media is attempting to do is put all the blame squarely on the shoulders of Chokwe Antar Lumumba, which was Chokwe Lumumba's son, or is Chokwe Lumumba's son, the ancestor Chokwe Lumumba, who was a member of, was involved with the Republic of New Africa, you know, back in the day, who became mayor of Jackson, Mississippi, I want to say back in 2014, and then like mysteriously passed away shortly after that.
They killed him probably, poisoned him, like they do them African leaders that go to Europe for some highly needed surgery.
Yeah, I mean, people say the same thing happened with Harold Washington. They say Harold Washington drank some coffee and then ended up, you know, having a heart attack out in Chicago back in the day. You know, I remember I got exposed. I was in Atlanta one time. This brother was doing spoken word, and he mentioned that, and I was like, I had never known anything about that. So it caused me to look into it. I spoke to some people that was from Chicago, and they started educating me about, you know, his situation too with Harold Washington. So I mean, I don't put it past any of these people. You know, when they're trying to secure power, you know, they do what they got to do, because, you know,
a lot of people don't know Martin Luther King's mother was assassinated.
Yeah, definitely.
So tell me more about your trip to Mississippi.
Yeah. So, but you know, so let me finish that part about the politics involved. So you got the mayor is, you know, trying to do the best he can, but it's really the governor, Tate Reeves. You know, the governor is blocking funding. The governor is blocking the funding that Jackson really needs. They need new infrastructure. You know, that's the issue. It's been, you know, they needed infrastructure 30 years ago. You know, and it's been a ongoing issue with them blocking the funding. And also another thing that I learned while I was down there was there are these like suburban, beautiful, newly developed townships that that are on the outskirts of Jackson, Mississippi, that some kind of way with the way the infrastructure is set up, they're on a higher elevation. So I'm sure some environmental engineers can probably understand how this works out. But when there's rainfall, those surrounding towns are able to accumulate the water prior to it getting to Jackson. So that's another part of the problem too. And then some kind of way, a lot of the resources that should go to Jackson end up not going to Jackson and going to those surrounding areas, those surrounding more suburban type areas. You can see it when you ride on the highway, when you're on Interstate 55 riding down to Jackson. Before you get to it, I can't remember the name of one of the towns. It's not Ridgeland. It's like another one. But that's another dynamic. I want to look more into that so I can be able to, speak more specifically about that. But it's a lot of things at play, and it's a lot of like neglect that's been taking place for a very long time. And this is really, speaking of Kwame Ture and SNCC and whatnot, this is really the kind of a continuation of the conditions that were in place in the 1960s that Fannie Lou Hamer was working against and fighting and struggling against. And it's still happening, and we're still dealing with it in 2022 because it's like they say, when we get rough, they get rougher.
Tell me about the education in Mississippi.
I mean, typical to the consistent with the education throughout the rest of the country. It's very, very Eurocentrically based and meant to, not train people to be responsible handlers of power.
In this book I wrote, I learned that slavery ended in the North in 1804. Your state, Pennsylvania, New York, Jersey, all of those. Maryland is below.
Right. It's the northernmost state. That's still in the South.
Yeah. But you guys have been studying and learning above the Mason-Dixon line. It's more common. Learning, education. You've had more time to process those books. Down south, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, Georgia, at least when I went to school there for college, I know Georgia was 49th in public education.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
What happens when the education system is like that? I mean, that's just enhanced poverty, right?
Definitely. I mean, it helps to maintain the status quo. If you educate people to be able to get out of their condition, to be able to understand problem solving and how to think critically and how to understand their history, then they'll be able to change their conditions. So you can't
I'm sorry.
So you can't do that. But the trick is to make it look like and give the impression that you are giving people the opportunity to become educated, to be able to change their condition while you actually don't want them to do it. That's the balancing act. Because these days, you can't be as direct with it. You got to kind of, you got to play like the white liberal type game. You got to be slick with it.
What's the white liberal game?
Oh, the white liberal game, well, it's many parts to it. One part is like, you got to act like, I'm trying to help you, but I'm really
I'm your friend. We're buddies.
I'm really trying to hinder you. I'm really trying to.
We both vote Democrat.
Yeah, so I can just have control over you because I need to have control over you so I can give you some stuff.
We're going to work together under the big tent.
Yeah. Or I can try to absorb you, or I try to absorb you into my group. Either way, I'm still exterminating you. I'm still getting rid of you because once you're absorbed into my group, then you're gone. Because you become like amalgamated. You melt into, I guess, what they call the so-called melting pot. As opposed to the other way to do it is like I just try to destroy you and kill you, blatantly and directly. But another way is like I make you feel comfortable and I invite you into the fold. And either way,
put that dag in your back. Tell me about mass incarceration in Mississippi.
Mass incarceration. I'm not too well versed in that. I'm not too well versed in that. So I can't really speak. I don't have any details or specifics on that.
Mass incarceration in Mississippi.
I'm not an expert in Mississippi. I just happen to go down there.
You were doing pretty good, I think.
I know a couple of things. I've
Mass
just been
incarceration.
some of the elders and the people that live there. I've been retaining some information they shared with me.
Mississippi leads the world in mass incarceration, one of the most incarcerating states in the nation.
I do know about Parchment Penitentiary, Parchment Farm. That's been around for a long time. Like that's, it was around in the 60s, probably before that. That's still around.
All of these, even in Baltimore, the Maryland State Penitentiary, these were carryovers from slavery. They weren't numbers, but slave holding pens that they just put some wallpaper up and turn it into a prison.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Were you encouraged at all?
Oh, very much. Every time I go down, this is my second time going down there, but every time I go down there, I'm encouraged. To see the people, being in fellowship with the local people. The conference was held. It was housed at this spot called Kemet Coffee. So if anybody's ever in the Memphis area, this town called Senatobia, Mississippi, is where the conference was held. The summit was held at, and it's a brand new Black-owned coffee shop called Kemet Coffee. They sell coffee. They sell desserts and foods there as well. They just opened up like 2 weeks ago. Young Black couple, with a couple of children. They opened it up. They got a coffee shop, and then right next door to it, they got like a meeting space. So that's where we had the actual summit, and we gave the presentations. But I went in there. I like the artwork. It just felt comfortable in there. The way it was set up aesthetically. But so they're very adamant about trying to support them because they know they're going to get pushback from the majority white community in that town.
Why?
So definitely trying to.
Why are they going to get pushback?
Oh, because they're very confident and they affirm their Blackness. You go in there, you got pictures of Fannie Lou Hamer in the back, hanging up on the wall. Francis Cress Wilson, Amos Wilson, people like that on the wall. Neely Fuller.
I find it hard. I was having a conversation with some supposedly smart people who did not know who Dr. Francis Cress Wilson was.
I mean, it happens. I mean, she's a person that's, they try to hide her from the mainstream.
Who was she to you from your perspective, Dr. Francis Cress Wilson?
I mean, she was a very important person to me because, reading the ISIS papers and, watching her lectures and becoming familiar with just her theories on why white supremacy is, why it exists, because of a fear. So her theory was
the belief of white supremacy.
Yeah, like it exists.
White supremacy
it's a mythology. It's a mythology or a theory.
But it's deep in some folks' minds.
Yeah.
And they have tried to make America the reality from their sick ass minds.
Yeah, it's like a perception is reality type of thing. It's one of those types of things.
What happens when Black people start believing that?
Oh, well, we support it. We become supportive of it. We become supportive of our position as second-class citizens.
I'm not a second-class citizen.
Me neither. But when they start supporting that, then they buy into it. And they just, they end up accepting, that type of position and that type of status. And they behave in ways that are consistent with that.
Have you ever found Black leaders who are white supremacists?
I definitely been confronted with and learned about Black leaders that have supported white supremacy.
Ones that will pay white people before they pay back Black people.
Yeah.
Sickening.
Because that's the job they were hired, not to excuse it. I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying the way I understand it is because that's the job they were selected to do. It's neo-colonialism, basically.
I was talking with a cat from Nigeria a couple of days ago. He was an Igbo.
Okay.
And no disrespect, I often allude to the Igbo as the Republicans in Nigeria, where the Yoruba more like the Democrats because there's so many of them. Just as an icebreaker, I want our Nigerian brothers, whether they're Igbo, Yoruba, Edo, Eka, Hausa, to know that there are people on the other side of the water who know about them. I mean, we all, as African Americans, should know that Nigeria is the most populated African country, 200 million people. America has, what, 340 million? They got 200 million in one country.
Yeah.
But he was asking me questions about the drugs. We were having a conversation. We were on the subway. And we were talking about the drugs in the community and the impact it has. And for a slight second, he misunderstood what he saw in America, as if it's not happening there in Africa. And this is what I'm talking about. Many of our ancestors were snatched from Africa and brought across the Atlantic. Some went to South America. 100 years later, they started dropping into North America. Well, how do you explain when somebody comes up in your house and takes your oil and changes your religion and controls your schools? I mean, Africa's a pretty big continent, but all of it was carved up except what? Ethiopia. Some people say Liberia was never colonized. It just seems oxymoron to me, and Sierra Leone. But most of Africa was colonized.
Mm-hmm. Berlin Conference.
So to me, what happened to them was even worse. You got stuck up at home, and they took your stuff.
It was a long-term process. And again, you had to influence the people. I mean, Chinua Achebe, I mean, even if it's fiction, it kind of
things fall apart.
Yeah, it speaks to the process of how that was done. But you're talking about that process being stretched out over multiple hundreds of years, and Africa being different parts of the continent being worn down over time, and then our ancestors made some mistakes and didn't anticipate what their enemies had in mind for them.
And then there were inventions that came about, like gunpowder. I mean, that changed the game. But you know what we often forget too, Akil?
What's that?
Is that just before the transatlantic slave trade, just before 1492, it ain't been a long time. The big shift has been the past 500 years. Prior to that, the Moors dominated the Iberian Peninsula, including Spain and Portugal.
Yeah.
And the Moors were royalty across Europe when Europe was in the Dark Ages.
Yeah.
I used to always wonder why they keep saying the Dark Ages. What are they trying to say? But that was at a time when the Moors were teaching them how to bathe, how to wear clothes, how to cook.
Yeah, how to season their food.
Yeah.
How to not sleep with the animals.
So that's the problem when we get these European history books. They're never going to tell the history in any kind of way that makes Black people look worthy, look valuable.
Right.
That's why we need you. Did you kick them any science? I know you're big on science and math.
Well, yeah, we was talking. What I was doing actually was in my presentation, because Histomatics is where it's a framework that I developed and I'm still developing, where I teach math through history and I teach history through math at the same time. So the presentation was based on this interview from 1986 that Kwame Ture gave to some producers with the Eyes on the Prize series, because they were doing a segment on it was going to be a episode or a video on the 1960s civil rights movement and SNCC. And so they were asking him a lot of questions. So while I was watching it one day, maybe a couple months ago, a lot of the things that he was describing, I was seeing them through my mathematical lens and seeing how what he was talking about in terms of his work in the civil rights movement and with social relations, he's also talking about mathematical principles. Because the way that I've had, different concepts I've had to teach in Algebra 1 classes, Algebra 2 classes, pre-cal, whatever, they mirror what he was talking about. So, and that's, so that's another thing. That's something that I ended up talking about in my presentation as a way to try to make math more relevant, because everybody always complains that math is irrelevant, right? So I said, well, we can use history to show the relevancy of math, because while I'm teaching this math topic, this concept of, whether it's, combining like terms in Algebra 1, we can talk about something that Kwame Ture was talking about, how, we can move toward Pan-African, or not even, well, moving toward Pan-Africanism, but within SNCC, how SNCC had different, as an example, how SNCC had different initiatives in different states like Maryland, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, but all of them are, SNCC initiatives. So you can combine all of those into one group of initiatives and say, okay, well, they had initiatives in 6 different states. But if you're looking at you in an algebra class and your teacher says, well, what's 3x plus 6x plus 9x plus 4x? And then you add up all those terms, you combine them into one term. So it's really the same exact concept, but by having that conversation within the mathematics space or mathematics classroom, now what I did is I just put you on to what SNCC was doing, and I taught you the algebra at the same time. So you really get a 2 for 1. And there's so many of those, those opportunities for us. If we look at math through a different, look at history through a different lens, then we can start to try to merge the 2 subjects, because our young people are lacking in many areas, but 2 main areas that I've recognized and I've decided to, cast down my bucket in those spaces and do the work in, is mathematics and history. So, and I say, well, we can teach it at the same time in the same way. So that was really like the concept of my presentation, and that's something I've been working a lot on, recently. And one of my own personal initiatives with all this math is going to be to create math content based on books that all of our young people need to read, at least that I believe all of our young people need to read. So like what I mean by that is when you go to any math textbook, it's got word problems in it. And the word problems are based on real life examples, right? But it's the real life examples that the author of that particular book thinks of. So if I'm like, well, I want to teach history, and let's say I want all the young people, young brothers and sisters in Baltimore or in Philly, DC, any major city, I want them to know about Carter G. Woodson, Miseducation of the Negro. So what I'm gonna do is they need to know math too, right? So I'm gonna take my copy of Miseducation of the Negro. Matter of fact, I'm gonna take my copy of Miseducation of the Negro. And so my copy right here, right? And I'm gonna run through it. And whenever he's talking about something that can be quantified, I'm gonna create a word problem, whether it's dealing with percentages, fractions, proportions, an algebraic equation, a system of equations, all these different topics. But it's gonna be a word problem where they're gonna have to use that. But in having to read the word problem, because that's the first step in the problem solving process, is to understand the problem. So if you got to read about, this information, and it's something that Woodson wrote about. So now, but the real purpose is for you to practice the skill of creating an equation out of a word problem and then solving it and coming up with the answer. So I really, what I've done is I've taught you 2 different concepts at the same time in 2 different topics. So that's coming. That's coming in the future. That's one of our major initiatives that we're going to be doing through the company. Because I want us to know, because that's one of the major complaints, that we have as elders. These young people don't know nothing, but it's really because we haven't taught them anything. So I'm trying to think of effective and efficient ways to teach them what they need to know.
Also, there's a lot of noise.
Mm-hmm. Distraction.
And what is a parent to do? This generation, we're hitting them with technology at 2 years old, at 1 year old. As soon as from the car seat, they already got their mother's cell phone. They're already experiencing this digital technology. They're growing up in it. I mean, I'm old school. You just pulled out a book of Dr. Carter G. Woodson's Miseducation of the Negro. I'm looking at a rotary phone right now.
Wow. That's classic.
I can't throw it away because they say it might work in a nuclear holocaust. But then I was thinking, well, damn, who would I talk to? But in terms of math, how are we making excuses for our young people? I mean, because they can find a party in DC, they can find a rap versus between Kanye or Mario and what's the name? What's the other? Omicron, the young brother,
Oh,
Mario. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Our young people can find a party in another city, but they can't find or don't want to find the admissions office to the nearest HBCU. We do what we want to do.
Right.
How long can we make excuses?
So I think we got to take responsibility for that. So one of the things I try to do is, like, as an elder, I guess I would be an elder since I'm over 40. I try to take responsibility myself for trying to, provide a different type of influence or propaganda that can compete with the propaganda that influences the young people to not care about certain things and to only care about these things. Like, for example, like I have a YouTube channel that I want to talk about too while we're on here. But on my YouTube channel, I teach math. I teach math on my YouTube channel, on my All This Math YouTube channel, right? And what I realize is I get motivated when I'm on social media and I go to like Baller Alert, or I go to the Shade Room. I go to a lot of these different platforms that have a huge following, but they promote a lot of information that is dysfunctional, and it highlights the dysfunction in our community. And it kind of, and it gives us opportunities to celebrate a lot of the dysfunction in our community, right? So what I realize is that it's like when Elijah Muhammad talked about the clean glass and the dirty glass. So that's the dirty glass. And part of the problem is our young people don't have enough clean glasses. All they got is a dirty glass. So there's a dirty glass and there's a less dirty glass. There really are in a lot of ways. I mean, there are clean glasses out there, but they're not publicized enough. So what I'm trying to do is really promote the clean glass, really promote teaching mathematics, talking about mathematics, talking about history, making it.
Have you thought to bring some star power to all this math?
I've thought about it. So I'm thinking about ways of how to, get in contact with people. But I'm starting grassroots with just the people I know and bringing them to the channel, and have them, highlight, the work that they're doing in the community, or, whether they're, a professional or entrepreneur, or whether they're a math teacher themselves, or whether they're just a parent, or just a child, that, is good at mathematics, just to give that example and just to put that out there.
Akil, you don't have to go all the way to college just to get our young people interested in math. There are examples right before us. I mean, How many of us know where that pyramid comes from on the back of a dollar bill?
Is that ancient Kemet? Ancient Egypt?
It ain't the White House. It ain't come from DC.
Right.
It comes from Mother Africa.
Right. So, and that's another thing too. So that's
how is a pyramid on American currency?
Yeah.
Doesn't that spark somebody's interest? Oh, your people built the pyramids. You can't build the pyramids without math. A squared plus B squared equals C squared, or quadratic equations, X and A's and B's and all. You know the rest of it.
Yeah, we talk about that. We had those conversations, but I think we got to battle against that propaganda that a lot of people have, within them, it kind of inbred within them to fear mathematics and to hate mathematics. And one thing we got to have a serious conversation about is we got to have we got to make it a concerted effort to have parents stop transferring their own personal fear of mathematics to their children, because the children pick up on that. Because there's so many parents out here that feel like, or not feel, I mean, they may honestly have had like, traumatic academic experiences when they were in elementary, middle, or high school.
It challenged me. It made me angry. It made me stay home. Couldn't go out none of that weekend. You got to read this algebra book until you get it, because the white boy across the table from you has been exposed to it longer than you. So
Right.
you're going to have to take some time, cut the television off, and you got to study all weekend. And that's literally, who knows, it might have been saving my life growing up in West Baltimore, because my friends weren't studying like that.
And that's what we got to do. And we got to also, like, even as parents, like if you in your 20s or your 30s or your 40s, you might have to go back. I mean, I think, to set an example for your young people, go back and say, okay, you know what? 20 years ago, this subject kicked my behind, but I'm gonna learn it now. And the interesting thing is, it might have something to do with our frontal lobe not being developed as children. It might have something to do with that, because there's a lot of things that I teach now and that I practice now, and like it's so easy now, and I've done it. I've had a lot of practice, I will say that, but when I was 15, sitting in a classroom, it didn't make as much sense to me. I might have got by, but now in my 40s, it's like this is so plain to me. So maybe that's part of it too. So I think like this is something that if we're serious, a lot of parents are going to have to do. But in terms of like, so I just offered the criticism, but in terms of offering resources, we also got to offer resources. So another initiative through the company, what I plan to do is offer parent and child classes. Well, like, so for example, if you're a parent, you have a child in the 10th grade and they're taking geometry, and, in class that week, your child is covering, I don't know, like you mentioned Pythagorean theorem, and I also mentioned how Pythagoras studied in ancient Kemet. He learned that from our ancestors for, studying there for 20 years. But, the formula is named after him. But let's say they're doing problems involving Pythagorean theorem. So, you as the mother or and the father, mother or the father, come in with your child. We learn together. Y'all learn together, so it's a way to like educate the whole community, because what often happens is like parents feel unconfident in their mathematical ability and they want better for their children, so they kind of like outsource the work and send their child to somewhere else, where I'm saying like, no, you come learn this too, you come get this work too, because when you're home in the house with your child and your child has those questions, I want you to be able to help your child, and you should want to be able to help your child too, and they do. But people, I think, feel so defeated by mathematics, they don't even conceptualize that, because they just feel so defeated by it because they're remembering what happened in 7th grade. They remember.
I was too stubborn to feel defeated. Well,
Yeah.
I got to go to coach class.
Yeah.
This cat ain't going to keep on dinging me. Some kind of way, this jab I got to learn this.
Right.
Because my father's not hearing any excuses.
Right.
You sit there and you learn it. The same way we would put time and energy into going to discos or fashion. This is back when Sebagos and colored socks, dudes start wearing the pink and yellow socks, the preppy gear and button-down shirts. That same energy you put into that, put it into studying. And in many ways, it could have saved my life. Again, growing up in West Baltimore, most of the people in my neighborhood were not going to Poly. They were going to the zone school. And I didn't go to the zone school because it wouldn't have been nothing but a bunch of weed smoking and Bacardi 151 drinking. That pink top. Woo! Carl Earl.
Oh man, 151. You brought back some bad memories.
Yeah, that pink top. Leave the pink top alone, young man. You have no idea what, but that's the math. I mean, so people into drinking, you can't just, do we ever wonder where tequila comes from, where vodka comes from? All of those come out of formulas.
Yeah.
Science. Can't make liquor without understanding some kind of science, fermentation. You don't want to mess around and poison the whole community. I look at some, often in jail pictures, how they were making, making liquor out of Lord knows what. But that's science, that's math. It's all around us. Even people selling dope.
Yeah.
Right now, we got a fentanyl problem. They're ODing around here like it's going out of style. Where did fentanyl come from? That's history. Fentanyl coming from China. Ain't no black people making fentanyl. I think Cat Williams said that. No black people are making fentanyl.
Yeah.
I guess there are many ways. Even the music industry. When you started talking about relating to the young people, this is what came to mind. How many rappers with big contracts? I was there in the Cat. He had to be about 40-something years old yesterday. He was rapping Rick Ross. Anyway, how many rappers know about the insurance that the record company has on them?
I've heard about that. Probably not a lot of them, because that's in the fine print. That's in the contract.
Where they get paid if your black ass die.
Right.
Or get killed or whatever. The record company has a life insurance policy on the rapper.
Yeah, because you're a commodity.
But the rapper busy talking about gold chains. And like you said, you haven't read the fine print.
Yeah.
You haven't read that you have signed 20 years of your life over.
And there's another thing about that too. I think that, a lot of the entertainers, they talk about not reading their contracts, but I think a lot of them, like, even if they did read it, they wouldn't understand it anyway, because all the math that's involved with it, all the math and all the, because those contracts are like very long word problems. That's what a contract is. A contract is a very long word problem. You got to sit there and understand it. And if you're not trained in a way to interpret that,
they're taking all your money.
Yeah, like, and the thing is, and they tell you, but you don't know the language. It's like, I could tell you to your face what's going on. I could tell you I'm going to take this and I'm going to take this and you're not going to get this. And if this happens, I'm going to get more of that and I'm going to get this percentage. But if you don't know, if you can't interpret that, then you're just going to get taken advantage of every time. So again, these are the reasons why, and that's why I'm at this point, my belief is that it's nothing coincidental or accidental how you have a subject in mathematics, right, that everybody has to take in school 5 days a week from kindergarten through 12th grade. I mean, you might be able to not take math in 12th grade if you already got your 3 math credits, if you need 3 math credits or whatever, instead of 4 credits. But how is it that it's something that's so popular that so many people hate or are just uncomfortable with? There's got to be some type of planned programming in order for that to take place, because mathematics is about problem solving. So it's about developing critical thinking skills and developing problem solving ability. So the moment that you can think critically and know how to solve your own problems, and not only solve your problems, but be able to identify your problems, right? So that way you might be able to say, well, damn, maybe I don't need to go shake my ass at the club this weekend. I need to get with some of my peoples and we need to sit down and figure out what's going on, because the news media ain't talking about this issue right now, but I see it and it's a problem. The news media might end up talking about it a year from now, but by then it's going to be too late, right? So we can't even identify problems. So knowing math enables us to be able to identify problems and then solve problems and have critical thinking ability. And then also, I was telling my students at Cheney this yesterday about the Latin phrase cui bono. Cui bono meaning who benefits, for who's good. So a lot of times when problems are presented in the media, we only look at it as one-sided. But for every problem, just like a math equation, for every problem, somebody's benefiting from that problem. So once you're given, or you develop the ability to solve your own problems, now the people that would benefit from your problems being maintained.
They out of business. You talking about the nonprofit industrial complex, the pimps.
There you go.
They make money off of poverty. Like here in Baltimore, we got more nonprofits than Dones got pills. It ain't stopping no murders. It ain't improving the education. All it's doing is creating some CEOs who live out there in the suburbs and they want to come down here in the community and tell people how to live.
There you go. So the thing is, like, but if you teach people math, then it's like, oh, now I can recognize the problem. I might be able to solve the problem myself just from organizing with my friends and with my crew as is. And we understand what's going on. And if you're teaching young children that, then young children are solving problems. Young children are recognizing that something ain't right. Something is up.
Hey, I got something for you. And I know you've talked to your young people about this.
Say it again.
I got something for you that I know you've talked to your young people about. Everybody can relate to this.
What's that?
Credit.
Yeah.
Understanding credit scores.
Mm-hmm. And then we go deeper. And then see, the thing is, again,
because they get them right there at college. They give them applications when their mother ain't around. Hey, fill this out. Girl, tell me how she just paid off some credit cards from way back.
Yeah. I mean, and that's important. So that ties into financial literacy. And I'm actually going to be doing a presentation for the National Association of Black Social Workers conference, the Philadelphia chapter. But they reached out to me to do a presentation on financial literacy. Because, you know, I mean, I teach math, but I've also, you know, my background, I got my degree in finance from Morgan. And I've taught business math as well. So I have some understanding of financial literacy. But one thing I've always thought about, at least for a while, is, you know, how I think economic literacy should either precede financial literacy or simultaneously be taught at the same time. Because what ends up happening is if you only teach the financial literacy, which is important because we got to survive right now. So we need to know about credit, investments, you know, savings, you know, insurance, things of that nature. But then we end up getting, you know, just maintaining the current system without thinking, okay, well, if we have economic literacy, then hopefully the goal is for young people to start asking the question like, well, why do we have to have this type of economic system anyway? Because this economic system requires that there's poverty. There has to be poverty in order for this monopoly capitalism system to work. But as long as we stay caught up in just the financial literacy, we never get to that logical conclusion. So we end up just staying. I'm of the belief that that's why a lot of banks and, you know, a lot of, you know, investment banks and certain organizations are pushing the financial literacy real heavy just to get people to spend more money and, you know, take out more loans with them. And I'm all for people, you know, being intelligent consumers. I'm all for that. But again, it's a system where everybody can't win within this system. So you got to have a lot of losers. There's going to be some winners. If you have financial literacy, you can win.
Like slots machines, like the casinos.
Yeah. So what I want to do.
I was in a casino yesterday for this conference. I do not advise having business conferences at the casino. I mean, that's like having a business conference in the crack house. What do you think people are going to be focused on? Yeah. Or, you know, like having a business conference at a concert. People are going to be focused on the entertainment.
Right.
I mean, man, it was brother.
Yeah.
I mean, in the community, we see, like, for instance, addicts of all ages, of all races, I should say, all races. In the black
Horseshoe?
Huh?
You was down the Horseshoe?
Because Live Casino, Hanover, further down, Arundel Mills Mall.
Oh, all right.
I'm talking about, brothers, seeing people at the slot machine at 10 o'clock in the morning. And you know they've been up all night. I was looking at them like they used to look at me when I was out all night. 3 days.
No windows and no clocks, right?
No windows.
No windows and no clocks neither, right?
Wow. Why are there no windows and no clocks? So you can forget about the time. I felt like I was in the after hours. I don't know if you ever been to the after hours. They open up at 2 o'clock, but the after hours open up at 6 o'clock. So they start to serve liquor again. But it just took me back through the whole hanging out all weekend thing. But this is on a Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
That meant, man. But anyway, damn, we got way off base. Woo.
No, we was talking about economic literacy and because you brought up credit, and that's important. Understanding credit is very important. But you know, when we get into credit, then we got to understand, like, well, why is there a need for people, you know, to have bad debt and for there to be payday loans and payday lenders? And, you know, how is it beneficial for people to actually not pay their credit card bill on time? How do banks benefit from that? You know, and
Compounded interest.
Exactly. You know, so it's like, you know, and we got to, again, who benefits? Cui Bono.
And you know what? Look, when Obama came in, he gave the banks on Wall Street the bailout.
Right.
CEOs were getting golden parachutes.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody say nothing. As soon as Biden forgive a few damn student loans, these people in a tizzy fit.
Right.
Even black people talking about, and no disrespect to my conservative black friends, but I ain't with you on this one. What do you care if people pay back the student loan? Now, I'm speaking from the black community perspective. God damn it, all our loans should be forgiven. You're waiting on me, you might be waiting a minute.
Yeah.
Because it ain't at the top of my list.
I hear you.
And then the other thing is, don't take loans. We have so many resources available to us, but we don't get certain. You know what kills me a kill is when a cat gets serious about college in the last 3 months of their senior year.
It's too late. It's too late by then.
Have you seen people with this, the light bulb goes off in February? Well, dude, you about to graduate.
Yeah.
Didn't take the SAT. You don't have to take that. It's no more SAT. Is that right?
No, it's still around. Just some schools, some more and more schools are not requiring it, but it's definitely still around. It's too much money. They lose too much money by getting rid of it.
You can't get serious at the last minute.
Yeah.
You have kids?
Yeah, I got 3. I got a son in 12th grade right now.
You know, these gadgets they signify yeah. What's up with these gadgets interfering in your conversation? Cut them off. Okay, what I asked you about the kids is, at what age did you start teaching them math?
Oh, well, my oldest son, he was getting math in general, probably like, you know, around like maybe 3 or 4 years old, you know, but I started him on algebra at 6, just solving simple equations. I started him early.
That's what we need to hear about.
Yeah. Yeah.
And algebra is more relevant. I mean, I've heard a thing about, you know, math is not relevant. Come on, man. Are you some kind of bonehead? Math is important everywhere from the dope man to the pharmacy to mass transportation to mass incarceration. It's all math. Math is everything. Everything you do is X's and O's.
And a lot of times people are using the math that
They don't even know it.
And they don't even know it. Like Y equals MX plus B. People use that all the time. Anytime you got to calculate a paycheck, calculate what your paycheck should be. Well, if you find you get your paycheck, you call up your bank or you go online and check your direct deposit, and your money not looking right, and you already know what it's supposed to be. You using Y equals MX plus B because what the variable Y represents what your paycheck should be, your net pay. You know, X is your number of hours that you worked, and M is your pay rate. That's what it is. So it's M times X. M times X equals Y. You know, if you know you make $15 an hour and you work this many hours, you're supposed to multiply them 2 numbers together and you get Y. That's your answer. In this case, B would be 0. So B don't even count. B is relevant in this situation, unless you're working off commission. You got a commission job where you get a lump sum every week regardless, and then you get a payment per sale. Then, you know, B is a number, and then, you know, whatever. But people do it all the time. They just don't know it. And that's not really all their fault, because the teachers are supposed to make that connection for you in class. Now, if the teacher did it and you wasn't paying attention, like a lot of the young people these days, they be in class on their phones. You know, so these phones, a lot of people are going to fail in school. And even if they pass in school, they're not learning a whole lot because they're on their phones. These phones are addictive. Phones are like the new dope. You know, these kids, like, and see, even on the college level, you know, they're addicted to their phones. And then that's why I tell students, like, get a separate, for my classes, like, get a separate calculator, get a little cheap little calculator, like one of these. Get one of these, because people say, oh, well, you know, my phone got a calculator app on it. Nah, don't use that. You know why? Because as soon as we're in class, you're using that app, you're gonna get a notification. Somebody gonna tag you on Instagram. Somebody gonna send you a text. Somebody gonna notify you about. So you're gonna something on TikTok just happened, or you're gonna go into another app. It's too many
distractions.
It's too many distractions. So just put your phone on do not disturb. You're in class right now. Get you one of these and do your thing. Be prepared to do your thing. I'm gonna be in Baltimore. Matter of fact, for the next 6 weeks, I'm doing math praxis prep. Not the next whole set, but next 6 Saturdays. I'm in collaboration with the Baltimore Teachers Union. I'm doing math praxis prep for some of the teachers to help people pass the math portion of the praxis. So I'm looking forward to that. Giving back to the city. I don't like saying giving back.
You're coming to the city?
Yeah, it's going to be in person. I've been doing it for the last 2 years, but it was virtual. This is the first time I'm doing it in person.
What's your favorite food?
My favorite food? Yeah, that's a good question. Probably seafood Alfredo, something basic.
Something basic. You coming to the home of seafood? Okay, well, then we had to make sure we get you some seafood Alfredo. I thought you were gonna say like some crab cake, stuffed shrimp, stuffed lobster, something like that. We get you some crab. Make sure wherever you go, they get you some good seafood. See, that's that hospitality. Do they share food in Philly? Because New York is stingy as crap with food. Don't get me started. Can't keep them out of my refrigerator when they come to Baltimore. But you go to New York, they want to give you a piece of cream cheese for your bagel. Why are they so stingy in New York with the food? Give you liquor all day long, won't give you a morsel of food.
Because the apartment
playing with them.
Too expensive. The apartment's too expensive in New York. That's why they gotta save. They gotta conserve resources. But another thing, I'm gonna be in before Saturday. I'm gonna be in Baltimore on Friday for the National Association of Mathematicians. They have their annual Math Fest. It's gonna be on Morgan's campus, and they chose me to deliver the what they call the J. Ernest Wilkins Lecture. So I'm giving a lecture on. My topic is HBCU students should be being math ambassadors to the Black community.
First, they got to come to the Black community.
That's what I'm saying.
It's hard to have an HBCU.
So whether you're at Morgan, Coppin, Bowie, Howard, if you're a math major.
Man, that's a whole discussion about HBCUs. The outreach.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm trying to push.
The community around Coppin, the people in the community around Coppin should be wearing Coppin gear.
Yeah. And I'm trying to push that connection. Because I know a lot of times, it's a lot of math
HBCUs, we get up in them ivory towers and get a little bit of education, read a little bit too much W.B. Du Bois, and start looking down our nose at our own brothers and sisters because we know a little something that they don't know.
Yeah. That happens.
Stop that dumb stuff.
Yeah. But I'm saying the infrastructure for that and that culture is already there. So what I'm trying to do is expose the fact that exists, and then have them start thinking well, yeah, I need to go in a different direction. Because a lot of people just kind of go with the flow.
Do some math with the boys on the corner. How long can you stand on this corner for 8 hours a day? What will that do to your Social Security, your insurance? I'm so sick of damn people dying, and then you get the phone call. Can you contribute to the fund to bury him? Cat out here slinging all the dope and coke and ain't got no damn money to bury him.
Yeah.
The dumb stuff.
Yeah.
You want to contribute to the funeral? No.
That's why I'm trying to teach these brothers math. And so with the YouTube channel, I'm making it free and available.
Hey, they trying to reach you, Papa.
You can learn math. If you're on social media, on Instagram, all this math, just like my title on the screen. Twitter, Facebook, at all this math, and definitely check out the YouTube channel. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm teaching math on YouTube, and another thing, there's a lot of conversation about people that have never had a Black teacher before, or they only had one Black teacher their whole life and their K through 12 experience. So this is a way to have a Black teacher.
Black male teacher.
Yeah, you can have a Black male teacher teaching math anytime you want, 24/7. All you need is Wi-Fi.
So a black male teacher in America teaching math, you are worth platinum.
And I'm making myself available for free, basically, to the community. I mean, I do my private tutoring. at the same time,
which can allow you to be able to help more people. So I got some history for you. It's a pop quiz. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Who was James Fortin?
So James Fortin was a brother from Philadelphia, a black man. Well, he's a brother, so yeah, of course he's a black man. He was wealthy. He was a millionaire, like back in like the 19th century, and he had a sail making company. And yeah, he was a wealthy brother. I know that because I taught a class. I created a class called African Americans in Philadelphia. My students renamed it Black Philly because I wanted to teach them. I got like a lot of people. I got tired of young people in here in Philly not knowing about who this black person was, who that street's named after, who this person is in this picture. And I was like, well, damn, like it's our fault because we never taught them. So
Fortin was a patriot.
So we learned about him.
He was a free black man in an era of slavery, and that sail company that he bought it from the white man he used to work for. And he hired people, black and white. But there was a difference between James Fortin and his son. James Fortin was a patriot. And around that time, there were discussions about Liberia.
Right.
Sending black people back to Africa. And James Fortin was like, hell no.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people like Richard Allen and them, they didn't want to go for that neither because they thought it was a trick in order to have. So you wanted to basically but get rid of the blacks that were free and educated and that could advocate for the enslaved blacks. So he said, once we get rid of all of y'all, then it's going to be easier for us to maintain the institution of slavery. So they kind of seen through that because they're critical thinking, right? That's what the math skills help develop, the critical thinking. Because people offer you ideas and plans all the time, but sometimes they're trying to scheme. And if you don't know that when they're trying to scheme you, you're gonna fall for it. Especially if they talk nice to you, you smile in your face, and
I get phone calls every day. Mr. Glover, you want to sell your house? I get them every day, all the time. Mr. Glover, would you like to sell your house? Mr. Glover, you want to sell your house? No! Hell no! If I knew their numbers ahead of time, I would block them ahead of time. But all of these people want to buy my little row house in Sandtown.
Yeah, that means it's valuable.
We got to bring you back. Now, we need to get some type of flyer from you can anybody attend your lectures at Morgan?
I'm not sure about that. I know it's an event through Eventbrite and whatnot. Because it's part of Math Fest, and Math Fest is a paid event.
So you'll be here Friday?
Yeah, we'll be here Friday. So my lecture is at 4 p.m. And then Saturday I'm doing the praxis prep. I'm doing that for the BTU, and that's going to be for the next 6 Saturdays. I'll be down in the city, which is cool.
Call me, and then we had to take you to lunch. I ain't gonna let you come down. We're gonna feed you. You ain't gonna talk about me. And them people over there at Morgan, they got food, but tell them, hey, look here. How about this?
It's a dinner. It's a Friday night is a dinner.
They feed you dinner?
Yeah, it's a whole dinner that Friday because it kicks off the Math Fest. Math Fest is from Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And
they didn't invite me?
Hey, I don't know.
We need to have a talk with the president, see what the problem is. Okay, but
if he's there, I'll say something to him.
No, he just asked for a crab cake. Tell him you need to go to the nearest black restaurant. The nearest black restaurant to Morgan is Collins.
Okay. I know Collins. Yeah.
Dante opened up Collins. It's not far from Morgan, y'all. Yeah. Stole them from Randallstown now in Northeast Baltimore.
Yeah, I went to high school with his wife.
Small world.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I had my what was it? My wedding reception. My wedding reception was at the restaurant when it was still out in Randallstown.
Randallstown.
Yeah. I'm divorced now, but you know, it's all good.
Clean that up. You just let them know you on the market. So we got a platinum black man. He's a good dad, and he can teach your little badass kids some math and how to get their credit straight. We had to turn this into the dating show. Akil, we're proud of you, man. And we still want to come to Philly and do a Black Wall Street, man. All we need, man, we're going to bring the awards and do it right there at the love sign. You see, you're going to make me do a Baltimore stunt. Tell them, meet me at the love sign, and I got your award. All right. Any final thoughts before we go, big brother?
Yeah, definitely. Just go to the YouTube channel. Go to the YouTube channel, add All This Math, subscribe, use it on a regular basis. Also follow me on Instagram and on Facebook at All This Math, and reach out to us. Reach out to us if you have questions, and you know your children. If your children have homework problems that you don't see a particular video that matches up with on there, just take a picture of the problem and send it into the inbox, either to the Facebook inbox or to the to the Instagram inbox. But definitely support the channel, and also tell people about the channel, because I just don't want Black children not learning math and just going to school and not learning it, and then just giving up and feeling defeated and feeling like they just
Let me tell you how you teach math to kids, the Black kids. Take that damn phone.
There you go.
You know what? I'm tired of these kids. Don't run me. I ain't your damn friend. I can't wait till my granddaughter get a little older so I can jack her little butt up. They don't make no rules. Parents got it inverted. Especially with the kids telling the parents what to do. What you want for dinner? What?
Yeah, especially with the math, because what I realized from teaching, that's an ongoing battle with these phones, man. And this with math, it's too many details. It's too many details. Like if you might be, diligently paying attention, and then your phone buzz, your phone go off. You pick up your phone for a split second and look at it, and you just missed a pertinent, crucial detail, and now you lost. You can't do the rest of the problem.
So they gotta put their phones in a container or something before they even come into class. Give up your phones.
Yeah. Because when you're a young person, you don't have the level of self-discipline to be able to say, all right.
Well, adults have to implement it.
Yeah.
No cell phones in this class. Put your phone on the shelf.
And it's got to be a school-wide policy. It's got to be a school-wide policy, because if it's not a school-wide policy, then let's say you're teaching high school, you got a 16-year-old, 17-year-old young brother. You tell him, give me your phone, he'll be ready to rumble you. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, all right, well, we don't got time for all that.
A young man gonna do what?
Well, he'll want to fight you
for his phone.
Yeah.
Okay, sir, I want you to have a nice day. You will not be coming back to class until you bring your parents up here to explain how you can't focus because of your phone. What is going on in your phone at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the daytime? And
ideally that should work. Because a lot of young people they're not ready to receive the lesson that's going to be offered, right? The math lesson, the chemistry lesson, the English lesson.
Let me tell you what's outside them doors for people who can't catch the lesson. It's called a penitentiary.
Yeah.
It's called a graveyard.
Yeah.
I hear what our young people can't do. I saw a cat riding up Pennsylvania Avenue with one hand, riding a dirt bike through traffic with a woman on the back. I don't want to hear what we can't do. I'm the wrong one.
Right.
What's his name? Joe Clark? Was that teacher?
The principal at East Side High?
Yeah. That's what we need. Morgan Freeman to come out and be a teacher.
But that was what I was going to say was, certain schools, it's like, all right, bro, you're not ready to be in here. You need to go somewhere else. So the rest of us are going to do our thing. But a lot of schools, they don't have, they'd be like, nah, you got to keep them in class. You can't kick them out. You can't even kick them out. So you got to, because it's like, there's no.
Your mother's going to make less money messing with me, because I'm going to require your mother to come here. Every time you do that dumb shit, I'm going to bring your mother up here.
That would make a difference.
Let me tell you how the answer is, I don't have one near me. A belt. Spank your kids. Don't hit little people. I did a show once. A friend's mom, Doni, you're advocating hitting little people. I'm with Bernie Mac. You know what Bernie Mac said?
Punch him in the throat.
Bust a move. Looking at me like I'm short. All right. Peace and blessings. Namaste. Good talking with you, Akil. Always a pleasure, big brother.
All right, man. Until next time.
Yes, sir. Peace and blessings. My name's Donnie Glover. This has been Akil with all that math. Akil Parker.
All this, man.
All this math. Have a great day, everyone, and be kind to someone. Good morning, world.